Hello, welcome to the Wargamer. I'm your host, Robin. Today I'm joined by the wonderful Mr. Ian from JustPlay. Hello, sir. How are you?
Very good this morning, thank you.
Oh, I'm excited. So welcome to the Justice Series GT Round 4 here in Liverpool. Beautiful city, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah, really nice. Really nice. You built it?
I did, yeah, all myself. On rock and roll as well.
Are you tired?
A little bit, yeah, a little bit.
So Ian's one of the event organisers and my co-commentator for today. Our table boss is Mr. Nathan Prescott. We've got a very, very exciting round 4, haven't we?
Definitely, yeah. Definitely things people have never seen before are going to happen here, I think.
Absolutely. We're 2 weeks into the Free Cities, the Cities of Sigmar, and the Uruk Warclans release. There's only one Cities of Sigmar army here, already quite a few Uruk Warclans armies, but we now have Eric, who we've previously seen on the stream yesterday, against probably the most famous Bonesplitterz player in the world, Mr. Ian Spink.
Yeah.
Who's also, so both armies have already won 3 games each, so they're 3-0 going into round 4. Bit of a shame that they got paired against each other, but they've done too well, so that's their own fault.
And now we get one big Orky game, which is also good.
We're going to call this Orcs Day at the Beach. Because it's very sandy. The Bonesplitterz. So there's 3 allegiances inside the Uruk Warclans book. There's Ironjaws, there's the Big Waaagh, and then there is Bonesplitterz. In this case, we have the 2 different allegiances. The Big Waaagh made up pretty much predominantly of Ironjaws.
Yeah.
Versus a pure Bonesplitterz allegiance. So it's just an amazing kind of like internal look at the book. I think this early release is pretty interesting. Like you study a lot of games, and I know you're super into lots of other games other than Warhammer as well. Like, how do you feel about that so early to see something so kind of like involved?
Yeah, it's really good. I mean, we've obviously we've seen Eric's list already. We've seen it. You know, his list runs on pure efficiency. Ian's list that we're about to see does like something very different, and I think Ian's list, I've actually just been talking to him about it a minute ago. It does things that, you know, I rag on Warhammer a lot when it's got things wrong. This book's got a lot of things that are right for me. It's good at doing things, so the Bonesplitterz are good at doing things that aren't just killing people or living really hard. Like, they're good at movement, they got all sorts of different stuff, so it's great to see a book coming out with different things you can do in the same book.
And it's quite a nice mixed arms army as well, and it's a real kind of like what's nice about it is it's more cunning than it is brutal, but still brutal.
Yeah.
Whereas Eric's Ironjaws that we already saw yesterday, although it is played as the Big Waaagh, is just brutal. Yeah. I'm not saying it's not cunning, but it's a lot less. If there's a sliding scale, Ian's more on the cunning side, Eric's more on the brutal side. We've got a real great game.
I feel like we need some sort of like graphic for, you know.
I'm sorry, I'll get that prepped at some point. I'll get that prepped
maybe
at some point.
LLV can make a stat of cunning versus brutal percentages.
So let's cut over to the tabletop. If you are watching live either on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch, thank you very much for joining us. We appreciate it loads. Thank you to Ange, who just subscribed in the chat and has done so for 18 months. Welcome to everyone. We'll be taking comments on Twitch if you want to join us. So Fat Snork says hi. El Capitan says hi. Very excited. And also Virulent28 morning. Love the introduction jingle. We should do that more, right?
Yeah, I was dancing during it, and like every time we've done it this weekend, I've danced, but no one can see me dancing because the Honest Wargamer logo's on. So
sorry.
Seems a shame.
So the scenario that we're playing the scenario that we're playing right now is Total Conquest. Yeah, absolutely. And as we can see, both armies are currently already deployed and are about to start. So we're straight at the kickoff. Oh, Cole Jamako, thank you very much for subscribing. Orcs versus Orcs while I paint my Orcs. What more could a guy ask for? I think is absolutely. So we're just going to... Right. So we're just finding out now where some characters are on the tabletop. As you can see, the Bonesplitterz are at the bottom and the Big Waaagh is at the top. You've got at the bottom there are 4 characters. We'll talk about those in a minute. 2 casters. There are 2 casters, and there are 2 war docs in the Bonesplitterz army. And then at the top, you can see there is a war chanter, and there is another war chanter, and there's a weird knob located in there as well. If you guys want to look at the lists, obviously you can scroll down if you're watching live on a browser, and if you're watching on BIP, or if you're watching on your phone or something, you click the BIP app, or you can go onto the tabletop TO and search for the Justice Series GT, because that's where we're at.
Nice.
Right, so we're getting started. So we're just going to find out who got the choice to go first. Okay, we're finding some information out. So Eric got the choice to go first. So Eric was choosing who goes first, and he's given the first turn away from Ian.
Yeah.
So Eric at the top with his big Waaagh and his So we're just hearing from the tabletop. So the War Docs do dances. They've got real fun little dances that they could do. And what he's done is he's put +1 armor save on the unit of spears, and he's he put +1 to cast on his wizards, and that's super important because he's got some really, really strong spells. His Wargog Prophet has got the command trait fueled by the spirits, which is going to give move and fly, and if it rolls a 9 or more, it's going to be triple move and fly, not double
so
fly
powerful.
though.
Yeah, that's a shame.
That's a shame. That's a shame. He also can give a unit +1 to hit, run, and charge. And he's also got Fists of Gork, so he can do 6s on mortals to wound. If he's cast on a 10 or more, it's mortals on a 4s to wound. And again, none of that is in that's just in close combat. But there's just so many things that this army can do. The Bonesplitterz army. He's got the ability to make a unit in 18 inches always strike last. And he also can make a unit have exploding 6s. So he's got a unit of 30 Uruk Arrow boys in there, who he could put exploding 6s on, but he hasn't. He's put those onto the 30 Savage Uruks with stickers, and 30 Savage Uruks, 2 wounds each.
Yeah.
We saw yesterday how difficult those 2 wound models to clear in the Fire Slayers. How do you think the stickers are going to do in this game?
Obviously they haven't got quite the same resilience, and in this case Eric's stuff is more resilient, but Ian's got a lot of offense in there. He's got a lot of mortals to get through them 4+ saves. He's got all sorts of ways round that. And we're just getting from Nathan as well. The Spearmen are now on a 3-up save in combat with buffs, re-rolling 1s as well. So they've got a real save. That's worth something. Plus
on
they've
2
got
wins
the
each
6-up as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Dreadwoods, thank you very much for subscribing for 18 months. Also, Wet Palette Warrior and Heinrad. There's loads of you today. That's very lovely of you little babes. Appreciate that loads. Yes, so scenery and scenario. We haven't yet talked about that as we've seen all the buffs go on. We might see some pretty electric movement. You're playing Total Conquest. Each objective point is worth 1 unless you take an objective off your opponent and then you score a point, an additional point, and that really is what the game becomes. As you can see, oh my god, I love this.
Wow,
I love this. That's great. Yeah,
that's Total Conquest, though.
That is Total Conquest, absolutely. So each objective being worth 1, you score at the end of your turn. As you can see, Ian has absolutely left this undefended, which is pure bait. Because what he's doing here, Ever the Hunter, he's effectively just leaving Eric to go and grab it and then go beat it up. And as you can see, Ian's finished his turn. He hasn't moved a jot. This, by the way, is one of my favourite moves. I call this the Wayne Kemp. First time it was ever done to me was maybe 4 years ago. He cast Mystic Shield on his unit, and then he went, cool, you'll go. Yeah? And just started deployment, which is always weird, especially when you give your opponent away. We saw Eric. Eric hasn't got the movement in his army that Ian's got in his, so the Ironjaws aren't quite as quick because of that moving and fly, but he's now got an incredible shield wall, like you said. 3-up save, 6-up ignore, sat on 2 command points so he can ignore a battle shock test. He's in a really solid point, I think.
Eric's army is just better in combat as well. In general, it's got more wounds on the board, it's got a better save, it's better at hitting things. So when he, Ian doesn't want to get into that on Eric's terms. He doesn't want to overextend himself into the army. He wants Eric to come to him. And as we say that, Eric's just green puked on his own unit. Total Conquest as well makes this strategy kind of work because the opponent grabs an extra point if they take it back off you. If you grab an objective in game 1, that just means they can take it back in game 2. So you're not any better off if you try to overextend into an objective, so you can let this happen and make this tactic work.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. We've just seen Hand of Gork cast now, so we've seen that unit picked up off the board. Timely as always when I decide to switch the camera. what's happened is he's done Green Puke is one of the first spells that he's cast, and then he's done it onto his own unit. Now, when he's Hand of Gawked, they've got Always Fighting, I think maybe is a special rule. Mad as Hell is a special rule. So effectively, what happens if you take any damage, at the end of the phase, that unit moves as close as it can towards the enemy army within outside of 9 inches. So effectively, what he's done is he's wounded this unit here, and then they're going to move forward at the end of the phase. So he's Hand of Gawked them, then they get the move. They still can never be within 9, but Ardboys, as we know, have got the natural +2 to charge. And if he's got enough Waaagh points stacked up, he's got an extra +1 to charge. So really, it's a 6-inch charge to get across the board. It's just pretty phenomenal, really.
So what's the... I don't know whether I'm missing something here, but if he's Green Puked on them so that they get a free move, why is he then setting them up as far back from Ian's army as possible?
I think maybe he's just placed them there before he puts them down.
Okay.
But no, you're right. Maybe he isn't. Maybe that's not the plan.
Or maybe he changed his mind halfway through what he was about to do.
Yeah.
Because if he Green Pukes on them and then he charges them forward, maybe he just wants to get into these Gore Grunters before they get a chance to start running riot
so
on the board, potentially.
Well, so I would actually say that the two big trick units, because again, we haven't gone through all the lists, the Savage Ball Boy Maniacs that you can see in this bottom left-hand corner, and the Savage Big Stabbers. There's because of the Icebone War Clan, which is what Ian's rocking, he's got a command ability that lets a unit retreat and then make a unit -2 to charge once it's retreat.
Yeah.
We've already seen Ian at this event, not on the stream, but we know his trick. Do we not?
Yeah, we do, yeah.
What he
actually, this trick Ian feels is so powerful, he actually clarified with us this morning that it was legal. That he wasn't missing anything in his rules because he felt it was so bent.
No, Malekith, Iron Jaws, you get Mad as Hell when you get enough of the big Waaagh points, basically. So if you stack up the Waaagh points, you effectively get Mad as Hell. So what Ian can do is he can make this unit of Savage Ball Boys, he can make them fly and he can make them double move. Their movement is 12 inches, but he can also give them run and charge with Brutal Beast Spirits. And then, so that's 13 inches. Then, double move is 24 inches here, flying, and then he can move away.
All the way.
Or just
wherever it needs to go.
Wherever it needs to go. So that's his trick. So I think.
I think.
Thank you. Just to clarify. So Mad as Hell under the Big Waaagh, the rule is the same as in what it does, but it's called Zoggum.
Right.
As opposed to
similar, same rule. Different
Appreciate
name.
that. We actually have an Uruk War Boss on the table, just letting us know. So
we do. It's really good. So it does it. Yeah, so we just got from Nathan there that it does look like he's changed his mind. So halfway through that tactic there, he's decided not to go for the charge into the side of those things.
So can I just say that Eric, I got to talk to Eric quite a bit last night, and calm, cool, and calculated as a player, absolutely knows what he's about, I think, and has got his head in the game. But realistically, for me, I think what Ian's going to have is he's played his army lots. He's played in the insanity of what Age of Sigmar is often. Eric coming from a 40k background, and that's not a disrespect in any way, but he's made a decision, and then he's changed it halfway through. And I really do feel like it's Ian's first turn play of just like buff, done. He hasn't given Eric the thinking time. To react, and now Eric's like, oh, this is really not what I was expecting. Which we saw Eric do yesterday to Sam.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, refusing to do the thing your opponent wants you to do or expects you to do. I think also as well an advantage for Ian. When these books are new, and it's happened to us even this weekend as well. You don't know everything about them, and you haven't seen them play, or you haven't played against them yourself. You don't know the things. So opponents are always at a disadvantage playing against new books. That's just a fact. Ian's going to have read this book cover to cover because Ian is Uruk's. So Ian's going to be at no disadvantage playing against Eric. He's going to know what his book does. And likely the other way around as well. So although these two armies are new, both of these players will know what each other's armies do, which is unusual with a book this new.
But one of the things I do really like about this book, and I think we're going to see an example of here, this internal balance of those 3 different allegiance abilities, but 2 very different armies on the tabletop. Both, as stated, already on 3-0 victories. One of them going to go through to a 4-0 and potentially take out the tournament. So I just think that's it's really exciting to actually see that there's that diversity. And if anyone's going to make the Bonesplitterz a third of the book work, it will be Ian Spink. But I think based on some of his performances yesterday, he's done pretty well.
Yeah, looks like it. And it's going to be interesting to see whether Ian's less good in combat, but with more tricks, more movement, very, very fast army is going to be able to overcome, again, Eric's just raw, slowish, mostly slow, some tricks and charge and everything, but slow to get around the board, and just raw efficiency in combat, and the ability to snipe out all of Ian's buff characters, as we saw yesterday as well, with those laser eyes from his Shaman. Yeah,
with his laser eyes, and he is going to move that Shaman up. For me, I think Ian should really focus on that Shaman. So the weird knob Shaman is what we're talking about for the army at the top. We're going to have to be pretty clear, aren't we, when we say the Orcs.
The Orcs are going to do this.
Morning, everyone, by the way, on Twitch. I hope you're well on this lovely Sunday morning. This is a great start to the day. Day at the beach is what we're seeing. But yeah, the weird knob Shaman's got the ability to do some real damage and mortal wound output. But it's pretty limited range, which is why I think Ian just gave him nothing. So now he has to move into the hero phase. Also, Ian's got the ability to reset effectively the balance of power by just electing to wait for the priority roll, see who gets it, and then deciding to commit. And he's got the power of the movement. And also, because of the... Ian will have scored 1 point in his turn, though, Nath. We'll just get that updated on the overlay. Eric's going to score 3 here. 1, 2, 3. But then there's a bonus point now in it for Eric to take that back. For Ian to take that back. So if he comes over here, takes it, he scores 2. I'm so sorry about that. That looks awful. So he gets to score 2 for it, which is interesting. And then if he runs off it, and then he takes it, and then Eric takes it back, he doesn't get the bonus point, which is real cool little tech. So there's a way of kind of out-attritioning the scoring by letting your opponent jump on them. Oh, we're straight into the priority roll.
Yeah, and this priority roll has also...
yes,
that's what he wants.
Ian has won it. I think he's going to give... Yeah,
he would, because Eric, again, similar situation to what we said about Sam yesterday. Eric's not put himself in a position to take advantage of a turn because his army is slow. So although his army's got great charge bonuses, and this isn't really his fault, his army just is slow, Ian's capitalising on that by just saying, sure, you still can't do anything this turn. Same situation as last turn, go again. Yeah. And now maybe Ian might even open up a double turn as well.
And look how quick that decision was. So priority roll straight away. Ian wins it, and he gives it away in under a minute. Like, not even a minute, 10 seconds. He just threw it away, and that is absolutely the right call. Like, he's prepped for this, and now Eric's under loads of pressure. He's already had to make a ton of decisions this turn. If I was Eric, I'd take a minute. I'd slow the game down a little bit, because you can get too into it too quick, and I do think that that's going to be an issue for him if he doesn't concentrate.
But again, this is good for me, just showing the diversity of the missions we've got in GHB 2019. This tactic wouldn't be possible in most other missions where, there's no there's an advantage to taking an objective back in this one. So Ian can do this. He can say, sit on the objectives. I'm just going to get more when I take them off you. But in most missions, this tactic wouldn't work, because Eric would be happy now racking up the points, and Ian would have to come out. But because of the way things have gone, because Ian knows how to play this mission, which is an important thing, it's using what is ultimately quite an unusual tactic.
Yeah, I think you see this done more and more. They're both players, actually. Eric now having to do work, and Ian having to watch. So this is really important now. This is a key piece. So there is the Balewind gone up on the tabletop. You can see right here. And that is going to do some laser beam shooting into the opponent's army. He's going to go straight for the characters. I don't know who he's going to pick.
Definitely capable of killing one, though. He can pretty much take out whatever one he wants now, right?
Yes, absolutely. Well, he has to now get that spell off.
Yeah, if he gets the spell off.
That's the really important bit now. So he's probably going to burn his Waaagh points to get the +2 to cast. He's naturally got +1. So that will give him a 3-point bonus. He's cast it on a 9 already, so that's a 12. So that's not happening.
Yeah. It's such a great feeling when you've got a big cast bonus and you roll like a 12 or 13 or so, and you're just like, eh.
Yeah. So
he even tried to dispel it.
So Fist of Gorka's gone off. and that is going to go onto the unit of. We'll double check what's being targeted.
Yeah, so that's only dealing wounds on a 6 because it only went off on a 9. So it's not as bad as it could have been. It's just going to do a few mortals.
Yeah. So yeah, it's it's going to do. You roll a dice for each model in the unit, and he 6s as a mortal wound. This spell, and we saw this we saw this about 2 years ago when the Gaunt Summoner was so prevalent. Really big deal. But would always be like, that's why Bonesplitterz were so scary at that point, because even if you did half the unit took mortal wounds on a 4+, you would still, because they got 2 wounds each, it was nowhere near as good as the Horde Clearer that we saw before. Which is why Fire Slayers are so tough as well. But now your favourite unit in the world, Gyrocopters, might be able to help a little bit.
Yeah.
2 units of Gyrocopters into them would be.
In this case, I would be all over the Purple Sun, because every 6 is a kill rather than a wound. So it's like double its efficiency against orcs.
Yeah, really good.
Yeah,
there's a lot of wounds on this board. There's a lot of bodies, a lot of beefy boys. Saurus Warriors are stood at this, watching this game right now, sad as hell that they've only got the 1 wound.
I'm a dinosaur. Why am I less tough than an orc?
A Dispossessed is saying the same.
Yeah.
We're a dwarf. We've only got the 1 wound.
I mean, at least they've got a really good say. Like, I spent all night reading the Cities of Sigmar book last night, so I know everything about it now. I'm not ill-informed anymore. They've got really good saves, but they're still, not that doughty. So I wonder if Eric's going to go for some Hail Marys getting in this turn. I mean, he's got big charge bonuses.
Yes.
He'll certainly. We've seen yesterday he's happy to throw units away, just to get the damage out of them because they're so efficient. So maybe he's going to try for a big charge.
Well, so this big unit of spearmen that you can see just down here. I'll get you a little close up. They now have got all the buffs coming in from. All the buffs coming in from. Ian, but they've also now got the debuff of always strikes last. And I got to say, if he's made the decision, although we've seen Eric with some interesting decision making already, if he's made the decision to give them always strikes last, so that's this unit here, then surely he's going to go for the charge, because this is the time when they're in a worse place.
Yeah.
But maybe he's not. Maybe I don't think that those spearmen. I think maybe Eric sees them as an offensive unit that's going to go forward. I see them as nothing but a screen, which these arrows, it's a castle army really. They're just going to be shooting over, and these are going to be flanking. It's probably one of the most like fantasy-esque armies I maybe have seen on the tabletop. They've got the cavalry, they've got the shooting, they've got the magic.
It's like a classic army.
It's like a classic army.
I really like Ian's army as well. It looks fantastic. It's really well painted, and what I like about it is how it's actually very bright. A lot of orc armies are, even when they're painted in, in reasonable colours, they're very sort of flat. It's just a lot of skin. But he's painted them in like a bright colour, like a almost ethereal style colour, and he's done all the weapons in that as well. It makes the army look really bright on the tabletop.
It looks absolutely wicked, right?
Lovely, yeah,
like
really lovely.
Really nice.
Lots of bone stuff in there to keep them on theme as well.
And there's
nice.
the terrifying unit. These big stabbers here.
Oh yeah.
These flying big stabbers. 48 damage. Ian did in a practice game against Nagash.
So a funny thing about Ian's army, I think, is that most of the things that the Bonesplitterz army is doing here, like the big stabbers, the flying, the super fast moves, they've actually always been able to do those things. It's just that you didn't really see them very much. And if you never played against the broken Bonesplitterz, shoot one arrow, hit you 1,000 times army, you've probably never seen most of these things. So a lot of it's not new. A lot of it's moved around onto different characters and abilities, though, but it's sort of done in a more modern, less broken way now. That just makes it like a fair.
Also,
solid
their book came out before prayers were a thing, so they're in there now, which is good. They've got some more utility just baked into the war scrolls. They've also got the bonus rules that come in from having the free rules from your allegiance or clan. So they've got a lot of options. Also, the thing that we talk about. The thing that we talk about with Ian's army is it also has that 5-inch scout. So at the start, Bonesplitterz Allegiance, at the start of the game, they would have been able to take his whole army, well, half of the army, specifically, and move it 5 inches. Then with a move on top, I really do think Eric was expecting him to come forward. Like, not using like one of your key allegiance abilities straight off the bat has to really, in my opinion, have thrown Eric. Maybe not. I'd like to hear what he says after, but I think that was a really interesting play. More happened there by nothing happening in the first turn than maybe people realise.
I mean, even if Eric's dealing with all of that, fine. if he even had he will have certainly at best been unsure what Ian was going to do, and that's a good thing. Like, as we all always say, Age of Sigmar is largely won or lost in deployment, and if you can throw your opponents off in deployment in any way, that's generally brilliant. So I'm really looking forward to the engagement.
I think
in
so
this
as
game.
well.
Like, how this engagement happens is going to define the entire game. Really,
I think what we're seeing here is I don't think there's going to be the Hail Mary play.
No, Eric's
I think
not going
we
in.
might see this when we get to it. I think he hasn't moved that yet. I think his plan is to go, because obviously all of Ian's buffs, like buffed up shield wall is here. His kind of like really fast mobility unit here is here. So I think that's going to be the key. And if he gets a charge that's good enough, he might be able to get into the Arab boys behind, which is what he's going to want to do. I don't think Ian, now to second guess him, I don't think Ian's going to do anything more than put his spear boys there, and then he's going to put his Arab boys just behind them here, just fire over the top. Definitely take out the characters. Like we said yesterday, if you take out the war chanters, which are kept at the back, and the shaman, you half the Ardboys utility, and there are
without the -1
there are 75.
75,
75 Ardboys on the tabletop. It's 150 wounds with a 4-up save.
It's a lot.
But I'd rather they did 1 damage, not 2.
Yeah. I guess as well, the other thing Eric's got to be careful of, I think there's a couple of things. So if he comes in here and doesn't kill those boar boys, they can command ability, and if they're not flying yet, so this is the difference.
Yeah.
So that's not an issue right now. But what he's got to be afraid of for the game going onwards, anyway, is whenever this engagement happens, like around here or something. If Ian gets a unit that's flying that's engaged or sort of round the flank and engaged, it's just going to hop onto these back objectives.
Well, yeah.
So, Eric can't really come too far forward because, again, his army is slow. A lot of it's going to get engaged by Ian's stuff.
I actually think you're absolutely right. And I think also, really interestingly, it looks like Eric isn't going in. Nathan, our table boss, must be furious that 2 Uruk armies haven't engaged now for 2 turns. Like, literally livid.
Although he is around the middle, which I believe is the general target area for Uruk armies. So he is closing in on the middle, so he's at least doing something right.
Well, this civil war that we're seeing that's happening on this beach mat is maybe they're just having a day out.
Maybe this is an Uruk training exercise.
Yeah, exactly. We saw the free city with the order training exercise yesterday. There we go. So he's definitely. This, by the way, now, ladies and gentlemen, is a blocker bait if ever I've seen one. I think Eric hoping for the priority role, hoping Ian engages, and then is just going to swamp forward. Eric also is sat on his CP. Nathan, I'll just get a double check from you to see if he's spent his CP to build up the big war. If not, conversation he had yesterday where he said he wasn't. So he's got the Ard Fist, Eric, and right. So he's. Yeah, so he's on. So he's already currently on 20 wild points. He doesn't need to spend any more CP. So I think what Eric has learned yesterday, because this book is still new, is he keeps spending his CP on generating the war. What he should be saving it for is when these units of Ardboys die, he gets to roll a dice, and when he rolls a dice on a 4+, he gets a unit of 10 Ardboys back. He just should be saving the CP for that currently.
Maybe, I mean, in this match, which is potentially going to come down to whether, not necessarily a grind to see who tables the other person, but whether Eric can keep enough units on the board to maintain table control in the face of Ian's speed. That could be really important. So
Eric's turn is done, so he scored another 3 points. So 6-1 so far. So and then we're straight into Ian's turn. He started his army dancing, and he unfortunately hasn't given the +1 save dance out, but he has got +1 to cast. So that's going to be quite important.
Can I just remark on how great it is? Every time we hear from Nathan, he says Ian's doing a really good dance, or Ian's dancing really well. And I can't quite see Ian because there's a wall between us, but I imagine Ian dancing around the table every time this happens.
So we've just seen a +1 to hit and run on the boars. So that would be +1 save. Sorry, just done onto the boars is what we've just seen.
I think the great thing here now is obviously those boars can go into that left unit, maybe even with another unit, so he can focus some of this firepower if he can get it all onto one flank. But then also use the boys to take this afterwards with the retreat. So
I think you're absolutely right. I think he's gonna take this objective, like do combat here, and then he's just gonna retreat, which he's able to. It's at the end of the combat phase, and then he's gonna have scored basically 2 bonus points here. The issue is he definitely is gonna lose that there, so he has to. So he effectively neuters this unit. He has to with his spears, his stabbers, and his arrow boys. And the arrow boys could definitely, I think, take out another unit. It's going to be really interesting to see what he does. So Fists of Gork has been cast into those Ard boys. So I think maybe just looking to clear them.
Yeah.
I think he's going to try and engage quite lightly. I think it's clever of Eric. He's stacked. If you look how close he's put those, he hasn't created a screen. He wants them really close. So any point Ian engages, he's going to be able to bring as much damage to bear on that unit as possible.
Yeah, I think 100% that's where the engagement is happening for the objectives, and then I think the Ian's spears have got to move up into the midfield.
So we've got +1 to hit, run, and charge has been cast onto the boars as well. So they've got +1 save. So they're definitely going somewhere in my opinion.
They are definitely doing something.
But are they going to fly? That's the really important part. So the spell that allows him to run and fly, or double his movement and fly. So move 24 and fly, which effectively gives them a 48-inch move. And he rolled a double. Which would have tripled it. So it would have been a 36-inch moving unit. But unfortunately, it was unbound. So that unit is going to stay there this turn. I still think he can do quite well. He can move 12 inches, get the charge. He can get that. He isn't, unfortunately, be able to get the bonus. But it gives him some real options. I'm interested. Would you not have cast the fly spell first?
I don't know. I think that was always getting unbound, wasn't it? Like that's the important spell right now. That's like that's the question of whether that's the question for that's how Ian's going to win, really.
No, I just more meant the your priority order, because if you like +1 save on those guys is still good. +1 to charge and run on those guys is still great. I just meant if you see if the unit flies, if it can or can't fly,
and then cast them.
Then you're like, right, do I decide where I'm going to put my other buffs?
See, I'm thinking the other way around. I'm thinking he really wants to get that fly spell off, so he's cast the other spells first in the hope that Eric would unbind those to bait out the unbind to get the fly off. And interestingly, this doesn't happen much in Age of Sigmar. I think both of those things are correct, like your way and my way. And most of the time in Age of Sigmar, there's like one correct order of things to do, but in that case,
baiting it out is also another. Like there's, it's a great game. There is some like genuinely good tactics.
I will concede that sometimes it's a great game. I will concede that point.
If there's a victory from this weekend, it's that alone, in my opinion. Right, so are we going to see some movement from the Spear Boys? That's going to be the major issue. That objective at the bottom definitely now threatened. As you can see there by those ball boys, they're going for it.
Yeah, he's definitely got to go and do something now. And I mean, he's sat back, he's let things happen, he's waited to be able to engage on his terms, but there's only so long you can not fight for. Despite the total conquest bonus, he is still now 5 CP behind, so he's got to do at least 5 VP behind, so he's got to do at least something now, which is may actually be, though, take this one bottom objective and then leave. And then still keep his spearmen in the same place. It is, because it's total conquest, there is still time. It's just whether he thinks he can grind these orcs down now in the turns remaining, because we're quite far along with the game at this point.
Yeah, I mean, like it's been lightning fast, but I think it's taken but minutes to actually do those turns, and I would say that slowing the game down is probably an advantage. This is a semi-final. One of these two players could potentially win. In the other matchup, for someone who can win the tournament is Colin Cochrane, who we saw yesterday, and JP, who we saw with his Slanesh army at the Facehammer GT as well. They're playing each other, and I would say definitely in that game it's on Colin to slow the game down, make it so that summoning, which happens more late game for JP, doesn't happen straight away. But it really is the immovable block versus the resummonable army.
Yeah,
the classic tale.
It's an interesting matchup because Colin's a really good player and JP's playing Slanesh, so that's always really interesting to see. Personally, I actually think it's quite an interesting matchup because of what you said. Both armies are broke in their own way, and Fireslayer is one of the few armies that are broken the correct way to deal with Slanesh right now. So it'd be nice to be able to watch two at once.
So we have just seen, by the way, the charge, which means we've had no shooting done. Yeah. So we're straight there into the charge, mobbed them in. They're definitely just going to do all their damage, but no shooting done. So that castle wall at the back still safe. So Ian might go for. Might be looking to just take it in pieces, right, and score those points. I think that's genuinely interesting. I think he's still baiting Eric in at the back there, so he's just saying, you come forward. But actually, based on this return after, if Ian doesn't commit, he's just going to get snowballed on points.
Yeah, very true. I mean, if he takes this one now, it's going to be 6-3. It's going to be 6-4 if he takes this one now. So he's keeping it close enough that when he eventually does want to break out, he'll be in a reasonable position. But yeah, I mean, certainly if Eric comes back and takes that, Ian's going to start running out of, certainly losing his boars as well.
So Eric scored, Nathan, Eric scored 3 points in his turn, so we'll just get that on the board. So he's got 6 in total now. But we are currently seeing 50 attacks go in, 2s and 3s into the Ard Boys in this combat right here.
No rerolls, fantastic.
No rerolls,
nice,
it's
fast
just
dice
2s and
rolling.
3s. It's just
good numbers.
Fast dice rolling, doing it. Table boss.
When do you think we're going to get to
3
D10s?
points, 6 points for Eric currently, isn't it? We'll just get that checked.
Should be. When do you think we're going to get to D10s?
So I agree
like a
with
natural evolution of dice.
It is a natural evolution. I agree with you. I think D10s or D12s to separate, create the math, make it a little bit more interesting. It would be really good.
One fine day.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see these Savage Orcs don't have any rend on their attacks. So someone in chat can probably correct me if I'm wrong. But I don't think these have got any rend. So these, and even if they do have rend, there's a good save on these Orcs of a 4+. So 50 attacks is a big number, but I think there's a good chance that some of these Orcs survive. Either way, Ian's going to take the objective because he's almost certainly going to kill quite a few of them, though. And it's what's interesting is to see what Ian does afterwards with this now and what his plan is for if the turn roll doesn't go his way and then Eric comes back at him.
Yeah, as the guys in the chat saying, 6 is to wound on this unit as well.
That's right, I knew there was some in there somewhere.
Rend of 1. So they can do some real good work if they want to. But we see that's 30 wounds in there. That 15 block of our boys is 30 wounds, with a 4-up save. So we'll see how they go through. They aren't going to be immune to battle shock, though.
That's true, yeah. So there's certainly going to be some of them dying.
Don't just take one away.
By no means. Oh, I don't want to see that. I want to see some good rolls from both players now to keep this super exciting game going all the way to the end.
So we are playing Total Conquest. Is the mission that we're currently doing?
That's better.
Yeah. So you guys can keep track with that. Oh, is that it? Is that good? Oh, so that's the boars. Of the Uruks are top attacked? Okay. Oh, so the whole unit is attacked, and they have only killed 5. That is 10 wounds.
Yeah, I don't think that's massively far below averages. It's probably only an Uruk or so off an average. That's probably fair. This is the thing with Ian's army. Eric's got this raw efficiency, these really solidly attacking hard boys. They are actually hard. And Ian's army is much less killy, which is why he's had to go for this sort of tricky version of the play to try and outmaneuver Eric, which, Eric hasn't been able to necessarily capitalise on that, but he's just done what his army does and walk up the board and force Ian to come and have to fight him somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that movement is going to be really key. We'll go back to the top of the board in a minute. Just want to say hello to everyone in the chat who's just joined us. We are seeing the Uruk War clans. So we're seeing a Big Waaagh allegiance versus a Bonesplitterz allegiance. Eric, who we've already seen play on the tabletop, we're playing Total Conquest. So that should catch everyone up. We're already into the bottom of turn 2. Eric has scored 3 times. This objective that's being fought over here, intentionally left by Ian, so that he could make this trade later. But but it looks like it's worked out for him. The Ardboys have killed 2 boars. 2 boars. So, oh no, actually, that means he hasn't capped it, because that's 8 to 10 in that objective there. So there's still enough Ardboys in that unit. But are the Ardboys going to run away? They lost 5. And they rolled a 1 for the battle shock. So Eric dicing his way through the game. But the Bonesplitterz ran a 6. So what?
Bad, not good rolling on Ian's side there. So, I mean, that's because Ian hasn't gone forward at all now. Eric wins priority.
Oh wow, here we go. So yeah, Eric has won priority, and I think at this stage, he genuinely can sit on the objective, and he's just won.
Yeah, I think he can just cast some spells again, because he is far ahead now, and nothing's really changed from last turn. He's got no reason to go in, although he might want to, because his army is better in combat, really.
Yeah.
So it might be a thing.
I don't think at this point he has to, because I think what he can do is he can just fight off these guys here, and then that means he's still got these 3 here. That puts him on 9. So 7-point difference
to Ian's
to Ian's 2. Ian can only score this 1 definitely at this bottom here, so that puts him on 3. He's got 6 points to make up, and he's got an Ironjawz army to go through to do it. The thing that you're missing if you've just joined us is Ian had potentially these pigs could have flown and had double moves. They could have engaged here, and then they could have gone here and then capped that back objective, and they missed that now. So it's a real tough game. I think Ian's played super well, but when he's made his play, it hasn't pulled off.
Yeah. That play hinged on that spell going off, which is never a guaranteed thing, especially when someone's got an unbind, and also on those pigs winning that combat, which I think probably on averages they probably would have taken that, but not huge averages.
No.
And it is a dice game, so it's a tough one. It's tough playing against such an efficient army. It's like playing against Fire Slayers. It's like, these are so much better in combat than me. What do? I need to do something else other than fight them. I think if Ian gets his big stabbers in, he's happy. But
yes.
Again, equally, Eric can just sort of refuse to fight.
Yeah, and it's where and Eric now is sat on that 4 CP. Don't forget he's in the Ard Fist. Pretty certain he's not spending. He's learned his lessons from yesterday, and he's saving that 4 CP. If any of those Uruk units die, he's going to just put more on the table edge. And what's interesting about this on Total Conquest, a lot of the objectives here. So Eric can put units here, here, and he can threaten this objective, that objective, that objective, even if his units get wiped out. If Ian moves away and kills some stuff, so if Ian moves forward, then he's in there, and then potentially he's threatened it all. So that Ard Fist ability is actually really good in this particular scenario for where the objectives are.
I guess that's one of the things against this Big Waaagh army. If you're not taking the fight to them and forcing them to be spending that to generate Big Waaagh to fight you, etc., and you can just let them hang out, sort of. They're just generating 10 Oryx every turn, or 5 on average is when they make the roll. They're like getting 5 free Oryx every turn that you're not fighting them, which is bad, because 5 Oryx do a lot of work, as we've just seen in that combat there.
Absolutely. We know also that there's a Boar Boy character down here for Ian. Oh, we just seen some big dice rolls to the tabletop. We'll find out. Wow, so Eric has just cast the Mortal Wound spell on a 12, but then with +1 to unbind, rolling a 13. Ian showing that it's better to be naked than covered in armor.
That is like Nagash level unbind, and I'm proud of that. Nagash is going to write him a letter of congratulations.
Yeah,
after that,
well done. You've done so well.
You unbound a 12.
Yeah. So, and the spell that he was trying to cast, Nathan, would have been the Mortal Wound spell, I'm almost certain.
Yeah.
Visagork, and that would have been, again, looking to focus down here. That, a real gun platform, those weird knobs.
Yeah.
Oh, is it Wargog Prophet is on top? Oh, Wargog Prophet's gone on top.
Quite shooty.
Okay.
So I see what Ian played for last turn, and thinking about it now, just analysing it a little bit more. I mentioned that I was sort of expecting.
Go for it.
I mentioned I was sort of expecting these to just move up, because again, it's about putting yourself in this position to threaten doing something, and obviously you want to get his Arrow Boys active, so you want to start threatening these things or the characters to force Eric to come and do something. And I think I'd be interested to see why Ian decided not to move up after the game. But now, again, we get into this situation now. This has happened now. Eric's won the priority. Ian's not in a position to score now. And Eric can do what he likes now. He can go in and fight if he wants to. If he thinks he's just going to crush Ian's army, he can sit there and just rack up VP, which, as you said, is probably what he will do, given that he's going to win this fight down here.
There's no pressure.
Yeah, no pressure.
To be honest, if I was Eric, I'd just walk backwards now. It's very un-Uric-y. Yeah, but he doesn't need to engage, because if he gets the next priority, he's got those two. He's just away.
Yeah, very true. Yeah, I mean, he's so far away now. He can just leave this objective over here for Ian to just take.
Yes, and also if he leaves it, then Ian doesn't get the bonus point.
Yeah.
So that's actually a smart play. You've really got to know this mission inside and out to know that. So denying him the bonus point. But yeah, I think that conservative play early was smart. But I think he should have pushed maybe this turn. But maybe we haven't seen the output of the War Clans. Maybe we don't know the sheer volume. Maybe when this all decides to go in, it does some terrifying work.
Maybe.
But there's a lot of wounds over there.
Yeah. And if we do see all of these orcs just now track back into defensive positions, can we watch Nathan while it happens? Because I suspect he will be very, very angry.
He'd be furious.
A look of disgust on his face.
He'd be furious, but it does look like I'm wrong. And again, another reason I think Nathan's banned me from ever actually playing Uruks, because that behaviour would be bang out of order. I do. We again seeing. So meat's back on the menu. So that unit at the bottom left, I think, is going into support to make sure those ball boys are definitely going to die, and then re-secure that objective. So Eric not playing the real safe game and making sure he's going to put a boot on the head as we go forward. But we'll see. I'm still not. Ian's a pretty patient fella, a hunter, some would call him. Yeah, ready, perched, poised. I don't think he'd have put his whole game plan down to one fly spell. That would have been quite tough.
Maybe not, unless he really does feel like he just can't fight. Eric's army. He's obviously assessed this army himself when he's read the book. Maybe he's thought, or maybe he didn't read it. Maybe he was like, I'm only reading the Bonesplitterz bits. I'm Ian Spink, you know who I am. That may have happened. But maybe when he's assessed this army, he's just thought, look, I can't fight this unless I'm engaging on my terms with the big stabbers, which is where all his damage comes from. And he's put everything into this play because he thinks it's his only out, potentially.
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe he knows he can't engage. But again, those big stabbers could do some really solid work, but they're good against monsters, and there are no monsters.
Yeah.
So, and it's a good meta pick. So, a lot of the scary things that we see out there, your Keepers of Secrets, your Ghoul Kings on Terrorgeist, monsters are a thing. We see them quite often. Your Vermin Lords are a really good example as well. Very survivable characters which hold armies together. So those big stabbers are good for that. But we talked about, just before the show started, the rise of the Uruk War Clans and the Free Cities. We might see a lot more hordes on the tabletop than we've seen before.
Yeah, certainly.
And there's always Fire Slayers out there.
Yeah, there always is. I was having a similar conversation with JP regarding this Slanesh, because he's really into Shalaxi Hellbane, which I've never been a particular fan of. And again, in the meta as it has been for a while, there's always a monster. There's always something big for Shalaxi to go and fight. But as we are seeing these armies, my argument was sometimes she's just a worse Keeper of Secrets, and that's a similar situation to here. You have these things that are super good when they're good, but when they're not, and you have to win 5 games to win a tournament.
You do.
And one game where your army is not good is enough to take that win away from you.
Yeah, and those big stabbers are 300 points to the list, quite a bit. But like we've talked about with Shadow Warriors as well, there's that utility. can you afford 300 points of utility? That's why Heart Renders were always so good. Those 2 units of 5, it was 160 points of game-winning utility.
Yeah, so good.
Tree Revs as well, those little blocks of 5, but they were 100 points. So, around that 200-point mark to win games, maybe like kind of swing bit in lists. Again, all about efficiency when it comes to points on the tabletop, and just sometimes getting lucky on those draws.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, I mean that's also completely valid plays. Just hope for the good matchups for your army.
And dice to be really good.
It does happen, yeah. Or at least dice not to do you over. One or the other.
So again, we've seen we've definitely seen some consolidation here. Again, conservative orc movement. I say that one more time. Conservative orc movement. They're now currently at 20 Waaagh points. They're literally buzzing with the energy of Gorkamorka. Like violently green throbbing is what they're doing, and to no effect. They just stood there vibrating with rage.
They are. Yeah. The ground's just shaking. The energy's not going anywhere.
So I'm looking forward to see. So what's fun is we're about an hour into the game, and we've seen one combat, but we're on turn 3.
Yeah.
Which I think is good, right?
And it's got to happen next turn. I mean, Ian's now got no choice. He's going to be behind. He's going to have lost a unit, which is bad against an army that has already got more wounds and better combat efficiency on the board than you, and he's now lost 300 points.
So the get and beat is being rolled. So that's a prayer. Oh, wow. So this unit here is charging 15 inches.
Cool. They only needed about 4. They're making some sort of boar boy rap, I think, is what's about to happen.
Exactly. If you guys want to see the list, by the way, if you're watching on a browser, just scroll down. You can see it underneath. If you're watching live on a phone or a tablet, you click the BIP button. You can also, of course, click on tabletop.to, and search for the Justice Series GT to see the lists as well, and see the other 2 players in contention: Fire Slayers versus Anesh. So those Ard boys have just run in there. So those ball boys definitely gone. That said, like Ian hoped to kill that unit. Again, is that the great hunter himself? Is this still just more bait? Has he played the longest, most patient game of bait that we've ever seen?
I don't know. I mean, it's because Eric's also got multiple units on the board, and he's got lots of units. He can really split his army up for all these objectives, and Ian's running out of width in his army. He's running out of the ability to be in multiple places at once effectively, and with a 7-point deficit going into the next turn, that's not a great place to be in now. He may have left it just a little bit too late.
Yeah, you're right. But then again, he does have another unit of boar boys over there as well. So those guys can again fly, double move. There's absolutely nothing. That's 24 inches. Charge. They're in. Yeah. The spearmen go forward. The archers go forward. Start dealing here. Flip on the priority. Punch through. That's the game. That's the game. But he does have to get that priority.
If he really does go to town on all of these orcs and does a lot of damage next turn, which he seems a little bit far to do that, but his army can be very fast when he gets his spells off, it does leave Eric's army very isolated over here. There's a big split now, and as we saw before, these orcs are not fast. These big Waaagh orcs are not fast. So, if he does that, and if he goes off to that right, and that's been his plan all along, then, he's a much better Age of Sigmar player than I am.
And me. But he's got some real fast those boars can be there and then they can be here, and those 30 Savage Orcs, that's 300 points. They can be in here, and they don't have to go straight, right? They could loop around, go for this edge, just get into that objective. There's a lot of bodies as well to chew through, and then the arrows can start whittling into there. That's a lot to play for.
It is.
But I think at this stage he really does have to.
It's all got to go right. I think if anything goes wrong in that plan, he's so too far behind on VP now. for anything to go wrong in that plan.
Agreed.
exciting.
Everyone in the chat, Studio Ursa, see my friend Benjamin Savin there, what an angel. Let us know what you guys think, who you're rooting for. Obviously, it's Uruks are going to take out the day, but do you like them naked or armoured? And that unit of hard boys over there in combat phase have just wiped out that boar-shaped hole. So pig is on the menu.
Apparently so.
Yeah, they're having some bacon for tea. Yeah. Yes, Iron Jaws. Eric does have the Hard Fist battalion, so he can have those units back, and then there is spaces to put them. And I really do think that having built up the CP was a better plan. His army gets stronger over the turn.
Yeah. Do you, as a question I'm not sure of in the new book, can you use the Hard Fist command ability if the character from the Hard Fist is dead?
It's from the no, because if he kills the War Chanters, then you need the War Chanters to be alive.
Okay. So if Ian has a good turn and then maybe goes into a double turn from this, there could be quite a big swing.
Yeah. So we're into Ian's turn now. He's failed both of his dances, so his +1 to cast and his +1 save have not gone off. So it's interesting that's his order of preference. He's like, I do that and I do the +1 save, see where they are. Yeah. Red Mongrel's rooting for the nakeds, and then Iron Jaws is all for the armoured. Gitley's all for the armoured. Lava is armoured to the teeth. And Mr. Tej is voting for red. That's right. If you are a subscriber, you can use our red or blue emojis. Let us know who you're rooting for. So the Fist of Gork has been cast on a 6 on which unit, Nath? Onto this unit of hard boys over here. So they've taken a bit of damage.
Okay, so some distance is getting measured to the main battle line there as well. So I just note in the chat, Benjamin's just mentioned that obviously that back left objective is very this back left objective is very exposed. It is the problem with it for Ian is if he gets that back left objective, if he then loses it again straight away, he's gone nowhere in VP. You've got to hold these. That's why it's called Total Conquest. You've got to hold them. You've got to get them and then hold them. Otherwise, you gained nothing by taking that.
Or hold them. Then run away from them.
And then run away from them.
From them.
If he gets some boars onto this, and these then come back and take it, nothing's really changed. So, and I think given the difference in the unit's combat abilities, just getting 5 boars there is not going to be enough.
Yeah, but that said, that's if he does get those. Oh no! Again, second time, Eric. That Wargog Prophet on top of the Bellwind has done his work. The
really
Breath of Gork, Gork and Walker stopped again, and that I think is our game clinching spell that's failed to go off twice. And he's also blocked Cunning Beast Spirits as well. So just a bunch of the Iron Jaws army. Who would have thought it? Just having magical supremacy and shutting down this army.
Great,
and it's a really key point to actually talk about. We saw this with the Beasts of Chaos book as well. Big shout out to my friend Parr. The most unreliable buffs in this game are obviously coming from spells, because you've got to cast them, they can unbind them. Prayer's way more reliable. Command abilities just definitely if you've got the CP. And then abilities just happening. However, Bonesplitterz has been cast and put onto the unit of Stabbers. Onto the Stabbers. So it looks like his plan was to maybe send the Stabbers in initially,
but nothing's happened. So I mean, this is one of the problems, like you say, with spell-based buffs being reliable. If your entire plan hinges on, particularly in this case, that's so lovely. So lovely. Except there's no arrows through them because those arrow boys have not fired.
Well, I think so. I think they will be. So the Savage Eric Spearmen are running up. I'm pretty certain he's looking for the double at this point.
He's got to, yeah.
Yeah, he's got to.
Yeah, this is the problem with spell. Even the biggest spellcasters, can fail spells sometimes. And if your whole plan, the army's obviously very based on that buff, but in this situation particularly, he's hinged his entire plan off a big, fast, sudden breakout of speed. And for 2 turns, he's had the spell that does it unbound, which is just, it's heartbreaking for Ian. But it just does show the risk involved in those plans compared to Eric's plan of just 154 plus wounds. That's always there. You don't need to roll anything to do that.
It's a very obstinate 40k army.
Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah, just efficiency. Except in this case, we actually get a full game out of it. It's not over on turn 1.
Yeah. Must Survive, thank you very much for joining the Knee Stabbing Gang, being for 3 months. Thank you to everyone who's subscribed today. Agreed, Mr. Benjamin Sava. Yes, this unit could have tag charged, retreated, and created a zone potentially to ignore. So there are some options, but I think at this point he's got some threats. Did that unit of ball boys run or move, Nathan? We'll double check that. So they're moving, so we can still see the same thing. Charge and then retreat away. And then if he gets the double, threaten those war chanters.
Yeah.
That has to be important.
That's got to be his plan at this point.
That's got to be I think that's really important.
At least winning the double's got to be his plan. He's got to rely on that right now, otherwise...
Need to double check. Although, actually, right there is another war chanter that we have. So he's going to be really important to deal with, I think. But now watching this... army break out. But to be fair, had he broken out the turn before, based on how the priority roll went, it would have, I think, been disadvantageous to him.
Yeah, certainly, yeah. I don't know actually what his plan would have been if he'd have won the priority roll, because, again, not in a position really to go anywhere immediately without the spell going off, at least.
Yeah, it's so the archers are also running up as well, so he's definitely electing. So this is, I'm getting the double turn, or I'm not.
Yeah, it's got to be.
I think.
I've not met or played him before, obviously, but I almost expect a handshake to be going out if he loses that priority roll at this point.
I think so as well. Also, we've just heard that he's used a command point to make that a 6. So there's all the commitment now in all of the movement. But if it does pay off, we've got a very exciting, ladies and gentlemen, get ready at home, priority roll happening. Because if this works... He's put himself right in the game, I think. Moon Tyranid, thank you very much for subscribing and also for being back for looking for some AOS. You come to the right place. Here we are. So I think... I
think at this point we can call it a comeback if he pulls this off.
Yeah, if he gets the priority roll.
He's struggling, so we can call it a comeback.
We'll see. And these are boys who've got a lot of decisions to make. I mean, they should go there, deal with them. Those 15 should go there and deal with them. And they won't deal with them, but they'll help. These also as well. I mean, everything. He can just... We're about to have a real smash-up.
We're about to have an actual rook.
Yeah. This is a full rock.
Cunnan versus Bastion.
The priority roll. For Grima, thanks for subscribing for 21 months. Thank you to everyone who joins on this small game. You guys are wicked. Oh, this is tense, and I'm excited to see what happens.
I hope Ian wins the priority roll.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Just for all of us. It's for all of us.
It's been a great game, and nothing's happened.
Yeah, that's movement is so. That's why Age of Sigmar is so good. It's movement like this. And also those threat pools. The fact that they're slow but they're so deadly. Oh no, don't worry, we're not there yet. Nathan Prescott let us know where we're at. I think we're seeing a charge from the ball boys.
Yeah.
And he's rolled pretty low, I think. He's rolled maybe a 6.
Charge of the ball brigade.
Oh, so he's rolled +2, so he's got an 8-inch charge, so he can tag that unit. There you go. I assume he's going to put very few other models near there to just minimize the amount of piling he can have. Is going to be important. We'll see if that's right. Some intense micro measuring happening over there. Let's go get a bit of a close up so we can see how we feel about it. The top down's always really good, but there you go.
Here we go. Here comes the tag.
There you go. That's the tag. So they're looking
to run.
Yeah, hit and run. That's the plan. So we're going to see a pretty minute combat happen with Eric trying to get in as many of these our boys to do damage as possible, which is just going to help Ian out, because I think he'll take from the back and go around, or would you take from the front to free up some space and go around? I don't know. We'll see.
Not sure. I think again this tactic, we know what he's going for, we know what he's doing now, but whilst he does it, he's got to also kill some of Eric's army at the same time.
Yeah,
and rely on them, and Oric's not coming back.
And he is within,
much things got to go right now.
And he is within 18 inches of a hero. He has a ball boy, a guy on a ball basically, who he has. We'll double check with Nathan if he does have a character with an 18 to run off. Pretty certain. He's been using that all weekend. Maniac Weird Knob. Thank you. He's at the back of the unit. So there he is. He's just there. So because he's wholly within 18, this unit's going to be able to scarp at the end, which is a cool little rule, and it does mean. But you still have to play it. It's nice.
Yeah.
Wholly within 18. It's a big radius, but not too big, especially when you take charges in. A lot of the abilities that you see where in the combat phase, if you're wholly within 12 inches of a hero, you're like, well, the combat, that means the character's got a charge. Yeah. It's quite hard to achieve, right?
Ian, when I mentioned earlier that Ian actually checked some of these rules with us this morning, that he was playing it right, excuse me, he was worried that he was missing something because he thought this was quite powerful. But it's really good to see, design-wise, a powerful ability that isn't just more attacks or more defense.
Yes.
Like, it's nice to see books coming out with powerful abilities that are like movement-based, objective-based, interesting, and because they're largely based on spells as well. There's counterplay as well. There's things you can do. Doesn't just happen, which is nice.
So there are only 6 hard boys in the combat, but I think that they could do some real solid work. Tiny Dino in the chat, one of our Iron Jaws experts, both him and his running buddy, I think are both taking Iron Jaws and Bonesplitterz a piece to events next week. So you could see. You're literally seeing. I think a lot of people are tuning in to be like, I wonder how my army is getting on. Like, I'm planning on taking it to an event, and we'll see how that works out.
Oh, that's nasty.
So they killed 6 boars. Did you say
boars,
4 boars? 4
yeah.
boars. Just 6. Just 6. They're so good.
Yeah. The table positions. They had.
Yeah, go on. You go for it.
Yeah. So they had +1 damage on them as well. So I mean, Ian's had no option but to tag them because of the plan he's into, but they just kill so much stuff. And Ian's just rapidly running out of models. I mean, he's got a long way to go in terms of EP. There's still 2 more turns of the game left, and he's got to get his objectives and hold them. And he's just running out of stuff to do it. And what he has got left is largely boxed into the bottom corner. Yeah,
like those arrow boys. Those arrow boys are. Have done nothing so far. No. They haven't played in the game. And I want to say big shout out to Eric for his play, for just being conservative, consistent. He's just sat there with his blocks. He's like, these are scary. And so you have to castle. Yeah. Ran in front.
I am not. I can only assume at this point. I'm going to take a guess. So Ian's boars were sort of a little bit out of position and a bit locked up here, and I can only assume he's done that hoping for a bigger charge so he could go here and then retreat away. And because he's got a small charge, he's just not got the speed of retreat to go anywhere this way anymore.
But I would definitely want to threaten. I would really, really want to threaten here the War Chanter, because I want also this War Chanter dead at the same time. That's going to stop Eric's Hard Fist. So that's really important. Here we go. This is huge, by the way. This is so emotional. Like, good luck. I want Ian to get it so we can play a turn. I really do.
I want to see a big fight, at least, before we go on.
I really want it to happen.
Eric wins priority again.
Eric has won it. Ladies and gentlemen, heartbreak.
Eric certainly had the run of priorities.
He has, everyone.
I don't think he's lost the priority role.
No, I don't think he has. That's a really good point. That's a really good point.
You can have a very good weekend when you win all your priority roles.
Yeah, so Ian scores another 1 that turn, Nath, putting him up on 3. That's sad. This has been an amazing game, even with that said. So being 93, 6 points. Eric definitely getting 3 points again this turn, puts him on 12. So it puts him on 12. And so there are on the board. So there's 1 here. And there's a potential to get 6. So that's 7. So that would put Ian only 2 behind. Going into the priority roll, he would only have to hold those 3, and he wins the game, 13-12. So he can do it. Unfortunately, he's about to get whomped by all of this first. And I don't think he's going to have the tools available.
Yeah, technically possible, the best kind of possible. Yeah, it's a tough one. Like you say, it has definitely been a good game. I wouldn't even say it's been good tactically. It's been good strategically. It's like one level above even. There's so much meta thinking going on, certainly on Ian's side for this. And it'll be really interesting to see what his decision processes were after this game for this. But yeah, it's exciting. So there could be some big dice swings here. It can happen.
It can.
Less likely when everything's hitting and wounded on twos. pretty reliable results generally. But we'll see how that goes.
That big stabby unit is here. It can do some damage in, and of course the arrows here. But and so there's a war chanter here. That unit's going to get buffed. They're going in. They're going in here. And then there's another war chanter here. This unit's going in. They're going in there. The only thing is that there's unless the always strikes last spell goes off, which is so that's going to be the really important one. Otherwise he is going to be able to fight back and have to activate normally like a grown up. But that's what I call it.
Big nukes about to happen.
So the big unit of spearmen are taking Fist of Gork, and that does a mortal wound now because it was cast on a 13 on 4 pluses. So
another thing as well. This only does on a 4 if you roll a 13 or more, right? Or has it got to be a 10
9 or more? I think.
A 9 or more. Okay, it's not that high then. I wasn't sure how high it was. We've seen that a lot. That's gone off on that a lot this weekend with only +2 to cast.
It has. It really has.
What's going to be interesting now? Just thinking ahead. Assuming Eric manages to finish this off now, his super efficient combat army. We've seen him play against 2 less efficient combat armies on stream this weekend, who've had to try to work their way around him, and have probably both failed so far. His next game could be Slaanesh or Fireslayers. Both armies that are quite happy to be in combat with Iron Jaws as well. So
Absolutely.
There's maybe some potential for a real big punchy matchups.
However, yeah, but if that always strikes like so, the Fireslayer block, like if it gets its always strike last cast on it, and then 45 Ardboys going 2 lots of them with +1 damage each. I'm not saying that punches through them, but that does work.
It does enough damage.
That does a lot of damage. Yeah. So it'd be interesting to see how it goes. But we'll see. We will see.
Yeah.
And then everyone already making bets. If the big Waaagh that we've seen Eric run does win, who do you think it's better against, Slaanesh or Fireslayers?
I think it's better against Fireslayers. Because they both fight really well in combat, but the Orcs don't want to be getting 2+ to fight last, and they certainly don't want to fight 4,000 points of models.
No.
So yeah, Fireslayers are probably less good in this situation, but still will be a great game.
Yeah, agreed. Because while Fireslayers are terrifyingly tough, they're not.
They're not Slaanesh.
They're not broke. Who currently are sat on a 68% win rate this year since General's Handbook 2019. Slaanesh are, which is about 8% over broken.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that would be great in a magical world of stats is if players were divided into like serious competitive players, normal players who play tournaments, etc. Compared to people who are really try hard, and what the win ratios are. Because I think the win ratios for Slaanesh are very, very high when played by top players who you can't work around their weaknesses as much. And they're sort of bent on top tables for that reason. Not to flog that dead horse.
No, that's fine. And our resident 40k player in the chat, Mr. Tom Layton, is pointing out that 68% is 12% below broken, which would be the Iron Hands army. But it's all right, though. We fixed that.
Maybe that's why they keep getting new rules in White Dwarfs, is because they're not broken enough yet.
Right, so the big question is do you think that the Iron Jaws are going to go in, or do you think he's going to sit there?
I think I think sitting there would be completely valid, but would leave potential, however small it may be, for Ian to win the game at this point. But right now, he can close the game out. Like, Ian's army's in front of him. He obviously played for a double turn. He just needs to go in and finish and end the game now.
Agreed. Also, are these seashells on this terrain? That's fantastic.
They are some seashells. It's supposed to be a boat that was washed up before this entire plane dried out.
That's really cool.
So yeah, we like our themed tables. My favourite things on this table, this terrain, a lot of it was actually built when we very first opened the shop. So when we were all in like guerrilla mode an hour before our first opening, like sticking sand on things and painting them. So there's some super classic foam hills on this table that you've probably seen in a couple of the top-down shots, which look like they're from the 90s, because that's when Richie learned to make terrain.
We see one right over there. There's a fella. There's Eric, just letting everyone know that he's nothing.
Look at that classic hill.
So Violent Fury has just been put onto which unit? Sorry, Nathan. Right, so this unit here of Iron Jaws is being buffed up. They've got +1 damage, so they're on it. So it does look like he's going to commit. Well, it was nice to see Eric in the turn before. He still had +1 damage here on this unit as well. So he's still smart enough to put the buffs in the right place.
Yeah.
He needs to make sure that unit's outside. That's way. There we go. 40k is 1 inch.
Yeah.
Age of Sigmar 3 inches.
This game.
Yeah. But can I also just compliment both players on their movement? It's been really tight and really, really good. And I love seeing that, especially as we go into game 4 and 5. As often that's the time where I see the loosest movement.
Yeah, it's good to see. I mean, if everyone just plays the game the way it's meant to be played, things are great. And people sometimes think that that's like playing too tightly or being too serious, but it's not, right? It's not hard to measure 3 instead of 2.7. You know, play the game properly and we all have a good time.
So it does look like Eric's going to commit now, so we're going to see the damage happen. Do we think that the Iron Jaws are going to that the Bonesplitterz are going to survive? I really don't think it.
Do not expect so. No, I think this turn will probably end the game.
I just want to say a big shout out to LLV. Thank you so much for subscribing for 16 months, and big love on the stats returning. We're all about that. We're all big fans of the stats. So the show coming back maybe next week. Find out tomorrow once I've organised.
With new improved Iron Jaws percentages from this event, apparently, by the looks of it. I'm guessing Eric's not going to go for a complete wrap. He's, obviously where he's positioned them around that terrain, he's not going to go for a complete wrap of those. He's going to bring these into the side, and this unit will maybe, if the charges work out, maybe get in, but probably won't even be needed, I don't imagine.
No, I don't think so. He's going to want to lock down those arrow boys, because then they're not having any effect. This is a full boxing in. Look at that. That is horrible. Ian's got to be like, this is not going to be fun. This is just going to be an experience of me rolling dice, is what it's going to be. Let's take a quick look in at Ian, see how he feels. Look, I think he looks fine. He looks okay about it.
The great thing about a beard is it conceals your true sadness when you're losing. It's it keeps the facial expressions under wraps.
Come on, let me tell you. By the way, this is one of the nicest men in Warhammer, the People's Champ. Some people call him. Some people, if you're from one of the other parts of the world, let's say US, Canada, Australia, or our Greek brothers, or wherever you might be in the world, Ian, he went to Adepticon this year. He's nothing but a treasure to play Warhammer against. So kind, so he'll talk to you about his army, about everything, and he's also got one of the coolest stories in Warhammer, which is he's made a list of all the monsters that you can kill, and then he's kept a track, and then when a new monster's released, he goes on the hunt to kill it. I think the only thing he's not killed, and it's only in competitive tournaments, not little pickup games, the only thing he's not killed is the big corn dragon. I'm not certain about that. No, sorry, that's not true. He's killed that at a tournament, and that's hard to even just get paired up against it. He hasn't killed the bone grinder giant.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that's a cool little personal quest he set himself on.
I mean, just to try to find the one guy in the room playing that whilst playing on the top tables as well, which tends to be homogenous, the same things all the time, is difficult. So
really difficult. But what a cool story.
Yeah, brilliant.
So it's pinned to his Twitter, for me, he's one of those characters that stands out in the community.
Yeah, absolutely.
So securing this objective here, smart play, threatening the Arrow boys there, and then definitely those are going down. So no shooting.
No shooting, yeah.
But here we go, the charge phase. These are definitely in. They get +2 to charge. These not so much, definitely. Or they can get in here on a 3 and pile in, but it's still not certain because he's moved block his own unit, and that's actually a clever play. It's not so certain. It's not so certain that unit's going to get in. However, the unit at the bottom didn't roll an 8-inch charge nor a 9. They rolled a 14-inch charge.
I mean, that is a quite a long charge.
He did. It's just on 2 dice. He rolled an 11. He gets +1 from the big Waaagh and +2 from their baked-in War Scroll rule with the drummer. Yeah, just beat. Nathan Prescott, by the way, looks very happy. Like he was smiling the whole way while he was telling us. He's just like, oh yeah, finally, I've been waiting for Urux to fight for ages.
Yeah, so there's over 100 minutes gone in this round, and we're finally getting to have a fight.
Yeah, well, we've had some little scraps.
Yeah,
some little scraps.
Slap fights in comparison.
But still a fast game.
Yeah,
still a fast game.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what I really like to see is that just still that precise level of movement is being enacted by Eric. I would really like to compliment both players. It's not picked up on enough, and I've watched enough games of Warhammer and seen enough games of Warhammer to play to say that when you see something, when they're this precise and this good, like, you really should compliment them, in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah. And, again, I think we let too many people who play sloppily get away with playing sloppily. Like, it should be called out. It's no different than using the wrong rules. Measuring things incorrectly is no different, and it's it's good for everyone if we do it properly.
Yeah, and drinking a bit of that wine. That's Eric drinks wine and Waaghs.
Wine.
Yeah, the wine. It's not wine and dine. It's wine and Waaagh.
Top hat orc. I really feel like there needs to be art made of some of these conversations. Really need an orc with a top hat, a glass of wine, maybe a bunch of iron jaws behind them, like ready to go into combat.
I think John will get on it at some point.
Forward, gentlemen. Engage.
So 9-inch charge at the top, so he's going to be able to get in a little bit here. But again, can we just talk about how smart it was for Ian? Even set up for that priority roll. Yeah, instead of doing what we thought was good, set up for the double, he's protected himself. And it looks like, I mean, that charge at the bottom was ludicrous, let's be honest.
Yes.
Like, that charge at the bottom could easily have not happened here. This could have not happened. So what he could have had all of those Arrow boys free, and then this charge isn't still guaranteed. There's lots to play for. He's still playing for moments, I think. So I think that's quite good.
Playing some out, yeah. Again, your percentages get very low, but you still play them until the point where there's no percentage left.
Yeah, big combats. Ian unhappy. Look at him there, unhappy about those pilings. He's like, get off my models. Yeah, get off my lovely Bonesplitterz. How dare you? It's just not right at this stage.
I'm playing the best orcs. What are these imposter orcs that are beating me?
Yeah, how dare you? It's because they got more armor, but that does make I don't know which. I don't know if you asked an orc player which ones are weirder, the naked ones or the armored ones. I think that they'd probably both think the other one was weirder. But
I like armor. I'm an armor fan personally.
Yeah.
Unless you're a skeleton and then you don't need any. Other than that, you should be wearing armor really when you're going into battle.
There we go. So they're starting to move in there now. That Wargog Prophet just looking above, and surely the Bonesplitterz thinking, you traitor, how dare you, be helping these Iron Jaws out, really?
Unless it's a training exercise, in which case maybe they're all okay with it and they're just going to go and drink some beer afterwards.
Yeah. As we've been asked in the chat whether or not Eric is using his England ETC dice. No, he's just got regular dice, not those famous at this stage dice.
Famous England ETC dice. Although his priority dice might be one from what we've seen this weekend. Who knows?
Yeah, we will ask, but I think his priority dice has just been a regular dice. But he hasn't lost a priority on stream. Maybe Eric is powered up by the stream. Some people can't get powered by the stream. Some people really are hurt by it.
There we go.
That is a swamping.
There's the combat everybody except Ian Spink wanted to happen.
So, I mean, he wanted to happen, but he wanted to charge.
Yeah.
Yeah, he wanted the charge. So, and they also have managed to tag in that unit at the back. Just going to double check with our table boss, make sure the unit of spearmen aren't striking last, because they might be. Because if not, that makes some chance. No, yes, the spell was cast on the spearmen, so they are always striking last. So they are in a very, very tough spot. nightmare. Look at these boar boys. They are not long for the world, realistically. Bless their little hearts. They're in for a full shoe-in.
That looks like, there's 100% shoe. It's definitely going to happen in this combat.
Yeah. I think I'm very much expecting a handshake after these combats, because I think there's almost nothing Ian can do. As we stated, he can technically win on points, but he has to go grab these 3 objectives, win the priority, and then score them all again, then have Eric take none of them back, which I think with just bodies on the board at this stage is next to impossible.
Yeah, certainly it's very unlikely.
However, the Iron Jaws could roll really bad. 1s and 1s is what we're looking for.
Yeah, we're looking for those very unlikely small
Or
chances.
Ian could roll great saves.
It's true.
Or both could happen.
Yeah.
It could swing in a... That's right, Gitley. We are now in maximum shoe territory.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kicking time.
All shoe all the time.
Yeah. Urik's favourite time. If you want, we could just have Nathan live call out the words. 82 damage! There's 82 damage!
Shoe area.
Yeah, that's where
that was my effort at a shoe.
Is this what they mean by the foot of Gork?
Maybe the shoe of Gork.
The shoe of Gork.
Just a giant shoe in the face. Maybe that's actually what happens.
Yeah. Malakatri is great. You're about to remember smashing and bashing, but he's not a real Iron Jaws player. He's just a dirty big Waaagh player.
Yeah, seems so. I think that was a medium Waaagh. It could have been louder.
So we actually heard from the tabletop a giant Waaagh shouted by all 3 players and the table boss.
There's a lot of orc players around that table, right?
The table boss actually wouldn't let them do combat unless they were.
So there's definitely Waaagh, and some orcs going to die.
Some orcs are going to die. So get from our table boss which units are activating as they do so, please. That'd be sweet. I'm pretty certain it's that unit. So top unit of our boys, and I don't think that they have +1 damage on them. That's this central unit here. So I would definitely, if I was Ian, I'd be activating there and try and take out.
They're striking last, aren't they?
Oh dear.
No need to activate. So all he's got to worry about, he's going to kill these. The arrow boys are going to attack, which is going to be, not the opposite of a shoe-in, like maybe a soft inner soling. And
more of a pantyhose or a long socking.
Yeah, a gentle socking, a stroke with a sock, and then the rest of the R boys can do their job.
Yeah, they're going to do a fantastic job. Is that the real Ian Spink? I knew him back when he started the hobby. It's the real one, and now is famous worldwide in the community.
Do we know that for certain? That it's the real Ian Spink, though.
Oh, that's a great point.
I mean, if that was 1991. When he was known, it could be a completely different person by now.
It could
be an identity stole by some Bonesplitterz loving random.
I sometimes feel Ian Spink is very much like Creed from the American Office. Yeah, he's just there, being insane,
always doing his thing. Generally winning lots of games of Warhammer.
Right, and unfortunately, that's definitely his army though. Look at it; it's a lovely looking army. And then also Eric's army is there, so that's nice. Although Eric's army is okay. What do you think? Have you had a look at it?
Yeah, I like it. It's not. I can't really judge on people's play, and I think it looks great on the tabletop. That's what's important to me.
That's really important. And and he's decided to add detail. The tusk detail there is on. Yeah, that looks quite nice. So I'm not gonna call that out. I think Ian's is a passion project that's been going on for years. Though, look at those big stabbers, by the way. 3 inches. Yeah, they're gonna do some damage in. They're there.
If they can get in there to that, I think we see a lot of boars being take off.
Wow. So all the boars are dead, but they did make 8 tattoo saves out of 35.
That's a lot.
That's pretty good. Yeah. I mean, they're still all dead.
Yeah, they didn't help them in the end, but they felt good as it happened.
To be fair, Nathan, I think if he'd have had 100 damage done to him and he'd have made 8 tattoo saves, it still would have been like, 8 tattoo saves, that's nice. Still dead 4 times over.
Yeah.
So
didn't actually change anything in the end.
No, it did not. They're cutting over to the combat over on the left. the Arrow boys are piling in, looking to just...
We did see Gunbutts doing some really good work yesterday
Really
against
good
a
work.
bunch of Stormcast, so who knows what these guys are going to do with their bows.
Yeah.
Likely not much, but, you know, who knows.
Nathan Prescott, we have a question to be asked of Ian Spink. Did he do physics degree at Sheffield University? That's a question that's been asked in the chat. So it's been... No.
No. So there we go. Not the real Ian Spink.
Not the real Ian Spink. Such a specific
Well, it was so anticlimactic, that entire thing, wasn't it?
like we could have been two friends, long lost friends, reconnect.
Yeah, but no.
That would have been lovely.
Not Ian Spink.
He did engineering at Sheffield in the 90s.
Maybe,
no, hold on.
Maybe it wasn't physics.
Maybe
but
it wasn't
else,
physics.
Maybe we have got the connection.
Yeah, maybe we've got...
Maybe we should start discussing Ian's personal life.
I also agree with that. But I do feel like being able to reconnect Warhammer friends
could be
over 30 years apart.
A real thing.
There you go, Kawuli. It is him. You can follow him on Twitter at Karamov. I think one of the guys in the chat might be able to go find you his Twitter. So at Karamov. You guys can be friends forever. Okay, so the Arrow boys did attack, and they did little to no damage. This unit now that's wrapped 0 damage, in fact. Thank you.
That unit have got a couple of models just in contact.
So, Kawuli, stop talking about his personal life in the chat. Anyway, this unit of... Two Ard boys have killed 4 of the stabbers.
Power of the mighty Waaagh.
Yeah, so and now it's unfortunately this horrible unit there. Plus, 2s to hit, 2s to wound, damage 2.
Just as an interesting point, you know, Eric's obviously doing well. He's at an event where a lot of good players. He's going to be on 4-0 after this round, but people often think that good players who do well in tournaments are like completely infallible, amazing, right? Can we point out that he made a mistake early game down here, which he changed his mind on. This unit in the movement phase went sideways, and then he decided to charge them. So that was another mistake. He could have come down here and then charged them. And, you know, it's always an interesting thing to see what mistakes good players make, because everyone makes them even in the best games of tournaments. And I think sometimes when you're watching games, it's easy to think that these people are like untouchable gods of Warhammer, and like no one is. People make mistakes. Even right now at this point in the game, when all you need to do is charge, there's still mistakes being made.
Yeah, absolutely. This unit was particularly telling. A spellcast, arguably one of the most important spellcasts for a movement, having already done puke to make it so that it can move, and then deciding not to, is really that's like, and it's not often indecisive players do particularly well. But Eric has he's played particularly facetiously. His list is doing really well. That's not to take anything away. It's just think. By the way, this unit of Ard boys that's attacking, so that's 30 attacks, hitting on 2s, and also re-rolling 1s just for the joy.
Just for the lols of it.
Just we're using that command ability, the one of the generic command abilities I find in Age of Sigmar, and then wounding on 2s, not re-rolling 1s though.
That's some consistency.
So they've done 28 wounds to the Savage Orcs.
Not even half of the wounds, though. You know, although it's not going to help Ian at this point. 60 wounds and 30 models is an awful lot of wounds. An awful lot of wounds on a unit that's also got a 6-up shrug, which is great.
We promise if Ian Spink ever plays on the channel again, which we would love him to, we'll create #SpinkFacts. Yeah. So there are only 4 of those left, by the way. And also, if you notice, Eric has played very cleverly. What he has not done is piled in 3 inches so that the stabbers can't pile in, which is just smart play.
Yeah.
So he's just, and most people will make that mistake because those stabbers, by the way, have got a 3-inch range, so they'd be able to go punch over the top. So ignoring that is very clever.
Yeah, I mean, Ian's just not got any work out of any of his units this game. I mean, the positioning aside, his Arrow boys never got to engage and whittle anything down. His stabbers, which is where a lot of his damages have been out of position or screened to the point where they couldn't engage, etc., for the whole game. And you know, when the engagement has come, Ian was hoping for a double turn, but it's not come on his terms, and so he's just got no answer to these orcs charging him in exactly the way they want to.
I was actually just running through my head like the units that you can put on the board that are going to have answers to these blocks of hard boys, because they're kind of like they're like the Fire Slayer block, but you don't need all of the characters, and they don't need to fight in that big centralized system.
That's good.
And they don't have the DPR save, so they don't have that 4+ DPR which the Fire Slayers or the Phoenix Guard have. But you just put in other wounds on the board instead.
I love this army. Like, it's super efficient, but in a completely normal game of Warhammer way. Like, we saw 30 Graveguard just take 30 of them off the board yesterday, and the Graveguard are just your standard like elite level combat unit, like Phoenix Guard, Greatswords, all that. Anything can fight these. Anything like they're well wound efficient, but other things are better in combat than they are. You can go and have a good solid game of Warhammer against these, but the two armies we've seen play them so far have been armies that have had, you know, like all of Sam's combat ability was focused in one unit of Graveguard. Most of Ian's combat abilities been focused in one unit of Big Stabbers. So they haven't had the efficiency to grind against a whole army of things that can fight. But some armies, you know, if you go and play 60 Phoenix Guard, if you go and play Slanesh Fire Slayers, you're going to have a good game of Warhammer. It's what we've seen here. This is just such a fantastic game of Warhammer. Maybe not as much fighting and combat as we've liked. But yeah, lots of movement, positioning, decisions, no crazy things happening all over the board. Just good, solid play.
Sorry, DPR. If you go on the Wargaming website, you'll see damage prevention rolls. So you've got things like disgusting resilience, the hair save on Fire Slayers. There's a lot of different words that people bandy around, but instead of tying it to one special rule, and because we talk cross system when we do coverage, we just thought we'd always say DPR because that's what it does. It prevents damage. It's a damage prevention roll, and it works for both Age Sigmar and 40k quite nicely.
It's much better than Shrug. I don't know why everyone uses Shrug, but
it's odd.
A terrible term.
Well, but I mean, the thing is everyone has their own colloquialism that they use for it. So what we did was just come up with a standard abbreviation, so everyone could just be like, "Cool, I know what you mean." Real simple.
Definitely.
So the thing that we've just missed out while we were talking, FYI, I'm sorry about that. 30 damage done into the Arrow Boys there from 10 Ard Boys.
When they're warring, they mean business.
And they weren't the double damage ones either. It's just
good times to be an orc when the Mighty War is active, isn't it?
Wow. Liam Jordan, thank you very much for subscribing for 14 months. Thank you to everyone for being here. You guys are brilliant. We couldn't do this show if it wasn't for you guys subscribing and everyone on Patreon. So Ian only had one command point to spend. He spent it on saving the archers, but not on the spearmen. Ian is down to one unit of Big Stabbers and the Arrow Boys. So that's really tough. Eric scores another 3, so it's 12-3 going into Ian's turn 4.
Yeah.
That's just tough, right?
Yeah, and you know, as we said before, there was some technical possibilities that Ian could hold everything if the Iron Jaws didn't take anything back, but he now doesn't have enough units on the board to hold that amount of stuff. I mean, he's got, obviously units can hold multiple objectives, but these units are so small they can't string out, you know, these small units down here won't be able to string out long enough to take 2 objectives, and certainly won't be able to fight anything while they do it. So I think we are functionally over at this point.
Yeah, so it'll be a good thing to find out from our table boss what the hidden agendas are, because in order to win the event, you've got a cool system here being done at the Justice Series GT, where there are 2 really fun things that I like, actually. We'll find out now. Ian's hidden agenda is to control the central objective. So Eric's agenda is to kill Ian's Wurgog Prophet, which I think he should be able to get. But a really cool thing, as I was saying, the fun thing that's being done at this event is you score some tournament points if you achieve your agenda, but also you score some more if your opponent doesn't achieve theirs.
Yeah.
So that way, a really good system to stop anyone colluding and trading in secondary objectives.
Yeah.
Really good. You can also veto. Am I right?
Yeah. So every player's got 6 hidden agendas. Written down on their list, and at the start of a game you pick 2, present them to your opponent, and your opponent decides which one you get. So it stops a situation where you're just using the easy ones, or against certain armies in certain situations, some of them are like auto-completes, so it means the opponent can veto that against you as well. And because you get points for stopping the opponent doing theirs, it means it's in your interest to veto the one that you don't want them to do. It just adds a little bit. The problem with hidden agendas that I've always had is that sometimes they're too easy, sometimes they're too hard, and this just gives you more consistent ways to play them.
Yeah, I think there's a really good argument for the hidden agendas to be looked at again, but it's a nice like way to differentiate between the winners.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, if they were if they were a little bit more balanced or maybe better, there's a big difference in, for example, I've got to get my guy to your deployment zone 3 inches from the edge, and I've got to have a guy with an artifact alive at the end of the game. Huge difference in ease. And because they're not quite balanced, you need something just to make them work properly, we think.
Absolutely. So at the end of the game, when it's not needed, the fly spell has finally been cast on the unit of big stabbers. So we do have a unit of flying big stabbers whomping across the board now, and that's done it. Ian has an undefined amount of CP. Rugrax, leave us alone. We're trying, bro. Yeah, we've got stuff that we're trying to achieve. And Smorgan, you're right. Those Phoenix Guard are nuts. Look, let's just talk about Cities of Sigmar. It starts with a Phoenix. It's 2 units of Phoenix Guard's battle line, and then you just build on the other stuff that you love. That's my Cities of Sigmar list. Change my mind. No, it's not a thing. It's just some programming error in our overlay. That's all it is. And so we've heard some news from... so this is the semi-final, obviously. Eric, more than likely now... Well, no, definitely, to go through to try to win the tournament. And we've heard something from the Slanesh versus Fireslayers game.
Yeah, so the other top table is Colin Cocker and Fireslayers playing Vostok Fireslayers against JP Stevens playing Triple Keeper Slanesh. The Fireslayers, bottom of turn 3, are currently up 6-5, but they're losing. They're getting ground down. The Slanesh players sitting there on lots of depravity. Big difference in that game when the Fireslayers are on Hermdar and don't have to strike first, because the Slanesh can just go in.
With everything.
Yeah, they can go in with everything, get their damage off, probably die, summon an army back, and then go in again.
I think the other really important point to note, really, with that Slanesh build, is with the Rod of Misrule, I think it's called, and the ability to just generate more than 1 CP per turn. You can go in, you can fight 4 times, let's say. Then the next round, maybe you only fight you fight 4 times, and then you fight 4 times again with the strikes again ability, because the other unit's striking last. And then next turn you generate 3 CP, you do 3 combats, and you strike again 3 more times. So you effectively, really, JP's had 5 rounds of combat in 2 turns. Yeah. It's just bonkers.
So much combat going first, and more than one pseudo army on the board. He's actually playing a different build now. He's finally come round to the build I've been telling him to play for the last 6 months. He's playing Godseekers now, so he's playing the battalion for CP generation instead, which does exactly the same thing that you've just said. Pretty much, it gives you lots and lots of fights. But yeah, the fact Colin, I think, up by 1 point now, but with 2 turns to go, he feels like he's probably about to lose, get ground down. JP's basically lost nothing and has 90-something depravity, which is a totally fun.
No, yeah, the whole Games Workshop need to just flat ban it from the game at the minute until they can hotfix it. That's what you do in a normal game. In any other gaming system, you'd look at something, you think, no, yeah, we've broken that. So we'll ban that from the game until we can put the right hotfix in. I would suggest TOs to do it as well. That's a strong decision, but we really need to get round to that when we need to make bolder choices on the tabletop.
Absolutely, and I think, I would not be opposed to that. We actually briefly discussed it before this weekend, but obviously because we've had our pack out so far in advance, and we knew people were going to want to bring it, we didn't want to do it. But in retrospect, I think that maybe we should, and I do think it's a good decision.
Yeah, it's a good system. It's what you do. It's what you do in other game systems. Something's not working, you just take it off the board for a bit until you can reapply it. Makes it more fun for everyone else.
It's down to us as a community and as TOs to do that as well, because it's not the way that GW currently operate. So if something's not being fixed elsewhere, we need to fix it, and we should be bold enough to do that, I guess.
Yeah. However, it's going to be interesting. You definitely if that goes the way you've just said, you're going to see if Ironjaws, who are all multi-wound models giving away depravity, and which is really fun because Nay, 3 weeks ago, I did put a tweet out and said, how could you put Ironjaws against Slanesh as a stream game? But we are now going to see the new book Big Waaagh. That was the old book. We're going to see the new book Big Waaagh versus Slanesh and see if, because it does, as we've seen, that unit of this unit here was always strikes last because of a spell. So they've now gained that mechanic inside of them. They've got the Big Waaagh, they've got the movement, and they've arguably they're not as tanky as Slanesh. But not as tanky as Fire Slayers, but they've got more bodies on the board. They can be more places, and so there's a lot less places for that Loci to be. So they can multi-charge. So that's going to be the way to try and take it out.
Yeah. Slanesh don't like getting multi-charged. Although the nukes from the Prophet onto the keepers or the small characters is going to be a thing. Unfortunately, it obviously just gives them depravity when you do that. So it's not actually as bad as people seem to think it is, getting your character shot as long as there's one left. But yeah, multiple units, harder to locus. Slanesh in combat, very inconsistent, a thing that a lot of people don't know. Keepers of Secrets as a standalone model for 340 points are not particularly killy outside of their multiple activations and etc. So Eric's not being very consistent at killing things, which Slanesh don't like people who are more consistent than them. So
yeah, but if you do see Keeper Secrets, you're actually seeing 2 of it. You basically just run down his combat profile and just click ×2. Yeah. So it's just very strong. Yeah.
But the always strikes last is exactly the tool you need against them. Multiple units is good, and of course you've got those ones on locuses sometimes as well. So and I think He's got the bodies to make JP grind through. He's got the ability to close down. Although you can't stop depravity, you can zone it out. You can stop them characters having anywhere to summon, or at least anywhere good to summon. So I definitely think he's got a lot of play. He's a very good player as well. Advantage to me would be to Slanesh, I think, still. But Eric's
I actually think what's the big play? There's going to be almost certain there's going to be an epitome at the back of the board. The big play: lose a block, spend that CP. Get the Ard Boys within 9, charge, kill it. Then you're really starting to put pressure on that Slanesh unit.
Or you can just hand a gork. If you've got if JP's got something hiding, you just hand a gork a unit in a circle around it. He probably hasn't got any units big enough to do a whole circle, but a semicircle, zone out the summoning, etc. You don't need to kill every character. You just need to kill most of them and zone out the ones that are in positions where it matters.
So back to the game. We are in Ian's turn 4. We've seen that unit of Big Stabbers who can now fly. Womp up the board, move over here, and they've locked themselves in combat and have engaged. I think that they've charged. Just
now, Ian. There's a good chance at this point as well. Ian can still take some points from the game. You can podium. This event's 38 players, I think we're at now. So you can podium 3rd place and very likely 2nd place as well with a 4-1. So a good score for a 4-1 on secondaries on hidden agendas will still put you further up the podium. So Ian's got to hold 2 objectives at the end of the game. He can still play for that. He can still try to deny Eric killing his Prophet as well. So possibly 2 important tiebreaker points for Ian to play for if he can manage to drag this out longer. It's going to be difficult.
Very difficult.
Now he's backed into a corner. But
so we just saw shooting. Am I right in saying that, Nathan? The big Stabbers charged here into the Ard Boys. There's only 4 Ard Boys left because of the Big Stabbers, but I still think we're going to see some Big Stabbers die, and I think that is definitely the game.
Yes.
Which I think is just sad. But yeah, I think they're going to play it through. I'd love to find out what both Ian, especially what Ian was thinking during that game.
Yeah. Would be a good post-match interview. This definitely.
Yeah, I think so as well. We'll get him on after. We'll wait for So 1 Big Stabber's died. So he has taken this point. Still playing it. Scored that. There they go. Priority roll. Oh,
is that a 6?
No, it's not priority. No, that's.
Oh, it was a tattoo save or something, maybe.
Cole Giaquinto says, a big block of our boys with shields and 6+ DPR thanks to Big Waaagh is very tanky. Played a match against the Slanesh today and had Keeper and Exalted Chariot bounce off my hard boys. Absolutely.
I mean, that can certainly happen. Like we just said, keepers can be inconsistent. They're not the hittiest thing in the world. I think, it looks like the Slanesh probably are going to take that game now, by the looks of it from our roving reporter.
Yeah.
Finally decided to tell JP that if he kills the heroes first, his guys die.
Yeah.
There we go. So JP finally realising if he kills the characters in the Fire Slayers army, he'll win the game. But he's decided to just hammer through the dwarfs first.
Just grind through everything. I mean, when your models just come back when they die, there's no need to do anything else.
Did we just see the priority roll, Nathan? I'm sorry. Did you say that? Oh, of course. So the unit got destroyed. So the CP has been spent. So there are 10 hard boys now.
Oh, and I guess we're going to see lots of 10 hard boys.
So how many CP did he have to spend is the real question. All right, so he rolled it 4 times, because he can roll it 4 times, but only rolled 1 4+.
Yeah.
So he was only able to. But the loss of that 1 10-man unit means, with 4 command points, he could have generated 40 hard boys onto the tabletop. Yeah. Just really interesting. If you stack that with the 8th Quartz Brooch, you're having a great time.
Lots of stuff, yeah. And, again, that's definitely a thing that should be FAQ'd, but it's hard to argue that in the face of other summoning that exists right now.
Also, just to let you know, just so he's 5 and 5, Eric has won the final priority roll there. Just to really just dig it in.
That makes him like 10 and 10 on
the
stream,
it does.
Doesn't it?
It does. It makes him 10 and 10. He hasn't failed a priority yet.
I wonder how his other games went. So yeah, that's Ian obviously playing there for maybe some objectives, some secondaries by the end of it, but there's nowhere to hide now. You look at this poor unit of Arrow boys. Look at them. They're like an orc sandwich, maybe even a shoe sandwich. I think that vaguely makes a shoe shape in the very vaguely, maybe vaguer than I would have liked when I imagine it in my head.
Oh, so the Balewin Vortex being dispelled. I think he's looking to set up another one because he does have to kill this Wurgle Prophet for his secondary.
Yeah.
And so now Ian's entire job is protected. Unfortunately, that summoned unit, again, really powerful, happened in Ian's turn. Priority comes up. It's a great mechanic. They're going to be able to move. They got +2 to charge. So effectively, they are only going to need a 3-inch charge to get in. They're only going to need to roll a 3 to get in. And then beat up these 2 characters at the back, score his secondary. So it's all for him. He's absolutely, he's smashed it and he's bashed it.
He has. And, that was also a cunning play, so who's to say that his army isn't also cunning at the same time?
Not me.
Maybe we were unfair in that judgment.
This is tough. They are +3. Yes, thank you very much. Yeah, you're right, of course, because of the Big Waaagh, there's also the other +1 as well. So with their movement, they're almost auto in, but I think they can mess it up. No, they can't. 9 inches away. They can't mess up the charge.
Yeah, I don't think so.
So they're auto in.
It's very unlikely that survives, and even if so, because the early turns of this game went so quickly, this is still turn. We're still in turn 4 now, right?
We're in turn 5.
Oh yeah, this is turn 5. Yeah. So he has got one last chance to grab his secondary.
Yeah, so I think that's what he's looking for, and there's still 40 minutes on the board.
Yeah,
so
we're going to get a full 5 turns.
They've played a smasher, realistically. Has everyone else enjoyed it? Ian, you enjoyed it?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. It was a really good game, yeah. I think maybe just a little bit too late for Ian getting out might have made it more of a fight. But I suspect when you talk to him afterwards, he'll probably say he just doesn't think he could have ever fought the army, which is why he tried to go around it instead. But yeah, brilliant game. Lots going on despite the fact there was no fighting for a lot of it as well, and lots of interesting decision points.
I think he could have potentially put the Arrow boys more here. In the centre instead of where they were on the right. Then when he did trade over here, the Arrow boys are already doing the work in. The Arrow boys, I don't know if they even fired a shot this game.
No.
And so if you're going to protect something, make it do something.
Yeah.
That
was again. It's just this deploying too deep thing, not getting your units active and rolling dice, whilst also being behind on VP. Like, it's fine to be inactive if you're ahead on the board, but he was behind them both.
But I think the play, as in the decision to leave this free, give it to Eric. You say, look, I've got a big block over here. You're going to come fight it? The answer is no. I'll take that and then do the trade. I think that's absolutely a great call. and it's a really interesting way to try to play it through. And then he obviously has got that potential. So that would have been a really interesting game there.
Yeah.
If you play it through again. The spell not going off. But then I think that just having those archers here to also double down. But then maybe just the archers just being there meant that Eric would have actually gone, "Do you know what, going through." Having watched Eric now play a couple of times, he's a lot more conservative than you expect Ironjaws to be.
Yeah.
So that can always throw a player off as well.
Yeah, and when those spears were like on a 3-up save, re-rolling ones, they've got 60 wounds. They would have had a chance to survive some of that alpha with the big stabbers behind them, would have been able to stab back, etc. It could have been set up into a fight that would have been probably still in Eric's favour, but more, Ian would have actually been able to put some damage onto the army, reduce its width all over the board, and then do his hops, as you say, onto different objectives. But I think trying to just hop onto objectives without also taking some of the opponents off the board is very dangerous and risky, and doesn't leave you it gets you points without putting you ahead, which is you've got to do both.
This army is also able to get rend if it uses its command. Because it's an Icebone army and he 6s to wound, a +1 rend, and they're rolling a lot of dice.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of the damage can have that rend as well. How's the Fishman army going? It's going great, thanks to Fears. It's going fine. He's playing right in front of me, and he's doing old Archie, that is, and he's doing okay. He's against Sam, who we saw play earlier on the stream. Sam is winning. Sam is not winning.
Fist, he is not winning.
Archie seems to have got his first win here, and he's over the moon about it. The Wargod Prophet's only got 1 wound left. He lived.
He lived. Oh.
He lived.
And again, that's what Ian's playing for, is to take some points out of this game if he can, which might be a relevant tiebreaker later. Oh, no.
Oh, so amazing. So there's the handshake. So he's cast Fly on himself, and he's been able to get himself out of trouble, and therefore denied the point to Eric. That could cost Eric the tournament.
It could.
Just down there, that combat.
And it could just push Ian up, into that second or third place when it comes down to those secondaries, which are there to differentiate people on the same records. Very important.
Very important. Very important. Okay, well, that's just real interesting. I can't. That was great. So what happened was this unit of our boys charged in. They attacked the Wargod Prophet, didn't kill him. Then, because they didn't kill him, he's then in Ian's turn. All he did was cast Fly on himself, and then effectively, which is also double move. He's going to move away, keep himself safe, wins the. Wins a minor victory.
The moral end victory.
But not an actual minor victory.
Finally got the fly spell off.
Yeah.
Twice in a row in the last 2 turns of the game. What a shame.
Realistically, so that's a win for Eric. Eric's going to go through to potentially take out the tournament, and looks like he's up against Sanesh. So, in a game that I would say you should never stream, Sanesh versus Ironjaw. Well, the Big Waaagh. Can we see the Big Waaagh take it out? What do you think?
I think, he's certainly got all the tools to do it. I think the Slanesh army is better. I think Eric's probably maybe a more experienced player, though. So I think it should be a good matchup. We'll see what... Oh, yeah, and now we're on camera. I think it should be a good matchup. Be excited to see it. Hi, everyone.
Yeah, I think it's going to be real fun, and I'm really looking forward to it. Ian, thank you very much for helping me with the commentary. You've done an amazing job.
Very welcome. Thank you very much.
Big shout out to our table boss, Mr. Nathan Prescott, and to our 2 players, Eric and Ian. You guys did an amazing. Thank you to everyone on Twitch. You guys are sweet. Don't forget to join us about an hour and a half. That's when the next game starts. Thank you to everyone who subscribed on Twitch today. You guys have been great. And thank you to everyone on Patreon. And if you've enjoyed it, just let people know.
Yeah,
but come back. That was a good Warhammer.
That was some good Warhammer.
That was just good Warhammer.
Yeah.
And I'm very much... Now, next it might be some mad Warhammer.
It might be. Is the next game in less than an hour and a half? I don't want people to miss it.
Not an hour lunch.
So we got lunch. Yeah, sorry. I'm terrible. Rob knows what he's doing.
Okay.
That's why it's a show.
I'm just excited about lunch. So an hour and a half's time, we'll be back. Honestly, I think this is really a new book, Ironjaws, really, versus Sanesh. Can they take out the bad guys?
Yeah, they can. Yeah, certainly can.
Join us then. You guys have been wicked. See